All right, welcome in. Happy Wednesday. Before I dive in, I do, let's see if I can find it. Hmm. Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen. I just want to show you guys. Oops. Um, you may have seen this. I think I showed this yesterday or the day before or something. But just so you guys know, I did get word that it looks like the shakes will be back sometime mid-August. They've just had with switching companies, moving the warehouse and and then the damage and all the things. It's kind of gone a little haywire. So what you can do is information here. So when you go into the drainfantino.store, this is what you're going to see. You're going to go to the full script here at the top, and you can click that. And then if you don't have an account, just get one. I already have one, so it's taking me straight there. And then in the search bar, you're going to put metabolic detox complete, and that'll bring up the shake that we're using temporarily until we can get our shakes back. So just FYI, I want you guys to know that. So, all right. So let me see. Here we go. All right. All right. So welcome in. Thank you for guys for joining me. We got again a small group. It looks like you're all muted. So if you have a question, please feel free to unmute and ask. As always, there's room at the end of these talks for questions and answers. But if I'm not explaining something right, by all means unmute and interrupt me. I really have no problem with that. All right. Oops, let me get my slideshow. All right. So today we've got some shout outs. Good. We'll talk about the power of decision. We'll talk about the power of thought. We'll talk about auto-suggestion, organized planning, perspective, faith, persistence, and so on. What are all these little check marks? I didn't even notice that before. Oh, that's so weird. They're all over this here too. Okay. Well, before I go back, we've got some shout outs. I've got Dyson. She said her joint pain is completely gone and her energy is so much better. So much better. So she's really happy about that. Kathy is down 14 pounds. Christy is down over 31 pounds and 22.25 inches, which is awesome. Cynthia is wearing clothes she hasn't worn in a long time, and so she's real pleased with that. And also, Charlotte also shared that she's wearing some clothes and some her favorite overalls that she said they're even a little bit loose now. So congratulations to you, Charlotte, on that. All right, so let's dive in. That is so bizarre. These check marks were not there earlier today. I don't know what happened of this. Okay. All right, so the power of decision. So decision is what we all need to do. We need to make a decide. You need to decide what it is that you want. And it's very important that we get very specific. So if I say I want to lose some weight, that's not specific enough. There's no way to measure that really. But if you say I want to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever your number is, that's being more specific. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about SMART goals, and specific is the S in SMART. So we really want to be very specific with that. We want to make our decisions quickly. A lot of my information that I'm going to be sharing with you today is coming from the book Think and Grow Rich. And you're thinking maybe like, what does that have to do with health and wellness. But the principles and the steps in the book, you can certainly translate into anything that you want to achieve, whether it's make more money or have better health. The power of decision is in this book, and it's one of the chapters. It's one of the beginning chapters as well. And what he talks about in the book is the one of the things that the wealthier people all had in common, the successful people, what they all had in common was that they all were able to make decisions quickly. Now, sometimes we have to change our course. If we decide on something and we go for it and it's not working, then we have to change course, and that's fine. Make another decisions to change course, but making those decisions and getting to the place where you're just going to go for it, get in there, go all in, and all that. I got someone in the chat. She said, that's awesome. I'm not sure what you're talking about. All right. And then also in your decision, dedicating your efforts to it. So once you've decided what it is that you want, go all in. When we talked about atomic habits, he says 99% is hard, 100% is easier. So if you say, oh, I'm going to try the program, I'm going to try to eat better, I'm going to try to start working out, I'm going to try to, start meal prepping on the weekend. I would say try to get out of the chair. We're either going to do it or we're not going to do it. So if you decide what it is you want, and health and wellness is it, that's why you're here, I want you to just go all in. And you guys who are on this call today, I know all of you guys, you've done that. You've all done that to some degree. You've done that. And then visualize it daily. We talked about the success formula a couple of weeks ago. The first step is deciding what it is that you want. Step 2 is see it in your mind's eye, visualize it as if it's already happened. So getting that, but you got to be clear about what it is. You got to be very specific about what it is. So some weight isn't measurable, but if you know that you want to be whatever, maybe it's a certain size, or maybe it's a certain pair of pants, or a certain outfit, or your favorite overalls, whatever it is. Visualize yourself wearing that thing. Visualize yourself having the confidence. Visualize yourself having the energy that you're going to have after doing a program like this. All right. All right. So the power of thought. Thoughts are things. Thoughts become things. They're basically, thoughts are like seeds. So when I've talked about the success formula in the past, the thought of it, the idea, the decision, okay, this is the thing I want to create. This is what I want. This is what I want. Thinking about it, it's like planting the seed out into the universe. Okay, this is what I want. When you add the feeling portion of it, that's the magnet that will attract it back to you. So thoughts by themselves are good. They become things, but you've got to add the emotional component of the thought and what that looks like. Let's see. So my little thing down here, thoughts create feelings, feelings create behaviors, behaviors reinforce thoughts, and here we go in that vicious cycle. Yesterday we talked about the cycles of how things go, and the life events, and then the thoughts and feelings come right after that. So, or the story, the beliefs, and then it's the thoughts and the feelings. So we want to make sure that we're putting the right stuff in. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about the neurons that fire together, wire together. And that's why we have to repeat. The more often we repeat that visualization, that thought about the thing, get a little healthy obsession for it. the more of a healthy obsession we get for becoming healthy, and we're looking up recipes and we're looking up exercises and we're looking up meal prep hack ideas and we're studying this and we're reading the journal and we're tracking our food and we're doing those things, the more we do that over and over again, it starts to become automatic because the neurons that fire together wire together. And Dr. Joe Dispenza is a great guy to listen to. He explains it really, really well. So I encourage that. Practice your success in your imagination, the steps. So this is a really good, helpful tip. So rather, of course, it's important to see yourself wearing the clothes, having the confidence, playing with the grandkids, having the energy that you want, having the vitality you want. But also, if you practice in your mind's eye, visualizing yourself, seeing yourself meal prepping, seeing yourself going to the gym, seeing yourself exercising in your living room or with your personal trainer or with that class that you wanted to take. But the more you can visualize and practice imagining doing the steps, the more that becomes your normal. And so those neurons that are firing together are now wiring together. It is becoming your new normal. So when you go to do it, like when we go to do anything, it's hard at first. Like we were talking about, when we're first learning to drive, where's the blinker? How do I turn the radio on? Where's the brakes? How do I put it in reverse? How do I turn the windshield wipers on? How do I turn those windshield wipers off? If at first it's hard, we know how to do it, but we have to really think about it. But the more we drive, like now we can drive anywhere and not even think twice about it. It's almost a subconscious act that we're doing when we drive to the store or drive to work. So the same thing with practicing, and studies show that athletes who practice in their head come out just as good as athletes who practice on the court. So practicing the success in your imagination and in your visualization is a huge piece of the puzzle. You've got to evoke the feelings. The feelings is the magnet part. The feelings is the magnetic part. This is what's going to attract this back to you. And when we get those feelings, the feelings are what change the programs in the subconscious mind. We can think about something, but until we give it some kind of emotional impact, it's not going to be nearly as effective. So you've got to feel what it feels like to have the success that you're going for, whether you're trying to write a book or open your own business or lose the 30 pounds or whatever it is. We've got to add that feeling component to that visualization process. It instills belief. So when we practice the see it in your mind's eye, see it and feel it, see it and feel it, see it and feel it. This is what instills belief. This is how you come to believe it, because the subconscious mind does not know real from imagined. All it knows is that you're so excited and you're so happy because you've lost that weight and because you're off your medication and because your doctor said your fatty liver is all better and because your doctor has said you're not pre-diabetic anymore. You feel that and see that in your mind's eye, it will induce the faith and it will induce the belief. All right, so the power of autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is self-suggestion. It is the communication between a part of the mind where the conscious thought takes place and that which serves as a seed of action for the subconscious mind. So when we write out your vision, like you're going to do in module 2, training number 1, you're going to write out your vision, but you want to make sure, number 1, that you write it out in present tense. You don't say, I will have a healthy body, and in 6 months from now, I will be wearing a different size, and I will be off my medication. You want to make it in a present tense. So you want to say, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm fitting into my clothes and my clothes are looser and the scale is smiling back at me, or I'm off my medication, or my energy is soaring and I'm able to play with my grandkids for hours. And this makes me so happy because I can see the joy in their face. When we create that auto suggestion, or basically an affirmation, That internal self-dialogue is very important. And it works the other way too. So we got to be mindful of the negative talk that we have. But we also, number two, we want to make it powerful and relevant and exciting. Powerful, relevant, and exciting, because this is, again, what's going to draw the results to us. This is where we're going to attract our results. That's also going to start to help to change the program in the subconscious mind by making it really exciting and powerful and relevant to your core values and what it is you want to get out of this program. And number three, as always, repetition, 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 repetition is the mother of mastery. So the more you can repeat your visualization, the more you can repeat the steps that you're going to take. You can see yourself meal prepping, you can see yourself exercising, you can see yourself looking at reading labels, just imagining yourself doing these things with a level of excitement, knowing that you're going to achieve what you're going to achieve and get the results that you signed up for. This is what is going to keep you going. This is what's going to produce that belief system as well. As I've mentioned, read aloud your vision often. And he even says in the book to do it in the morning, first thing in the morning, when you're just coming out of a sleep state. And then at night, when you're just falling in, right before you fall asleep, just before you fall into a sleep state. It's just a way to get because you're in a theta state, you're either coming out of being asleep or you're going into being asleep. And that is when your mind is the most suggestible. So when at all possible, but I'm saying I would encourage you to go there in your mind many times a day. And when I shared my story of moving to Arizona, or my story about how I bought the house with no, my taxes had said, no, you can't do it. Didn't matter. I was excited. I was sure I was going to get the house. Didn't know how it was going to happen. But I was over and over and over and over again, looking online, looking at the houses, looking at the areas, looking at the prices, looking at all the things I needed to learn and understand what I needed to do to get that house. But it was often, but minimally, it's first thing in the morning and last thing at night. And that's what's going to help you change your subconscious programs. All right, organized planning. I just can't get over these little check marks. I just don't know where they came from. Anyway, so organized planning is just such a huge piece of the puzzle, because unless we have some sort of plan in place, unless we have some way of organizing what we're going to do first, like, okay, I want to lose the weight, I want to become healthier, I want to start eating right, I want to start eating better, I want to start feeling the energy. But if there's no plan in place, it's less likely to happen. So number one, mastermind groups, that you guys are in one right here and right now. If you're joining this call or you're listening to this as a replay, you are in a mastermind group. You are with other like-minded people. And as you guys know, there's people that have graduated 6 months ago, a year ago. They'll come back and join in some of these groups well after they've graduated and done their 12 weeks. Why? Because it keeps them in the right thought process, because the more we forget about it, it comes in our past, in our past, in our past, it becomes in our past, and it's not in our present. So staying tuned in, staying connected with the other like-minded people is just a great way to get the ideas. And you get with other people, especially if you're new and you have somebody else who graduated, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, and they can tell you their experience, or they can tell you how they did the cleanse, or they can tell you how they started an exercise plan. Whatever that is, having a group of people to bounce your thoughts or questions or concerns on is huge. You want to have a plan. And if you guys don't know, reach out to me, book your one-on-ones with me, and you and I will sit down and we will figure out what we're going to do daily, what we're going to do weekly, and what we're going to do monthly. But there should be some sort of plan in place. Daily, obviously, we want to make sure we're getting breakfast, snacks, dinner, lunch, your meals. We want to know that they're all compliant every day, each of the meals. So that's definitely a daily thing. You all should know what you're having in your next meal, right? This minute, you should know what your next meal is. And if you don't, we're leaving it up to chance. If you don't, that means it's not planned. Now, sometimes, like for me, for example, I have two choices of what I'm going to have for dinner. And I'm even going to have either going to have that chicken or I'm going to have that fish because I got them both in the refrigerator. I just haven't decided yet, but I know they're in the refrigerator. So I know I have them. So I want you guys, even if you're going to a restaurant, look at the menu in advance, know what your choices are. So you don't even have to worry about, oh, I hope they have something I can have. Find out in advance what they have. And that way you'll actually know in advance. Weekly would be things like meal prep, meal planning, meal prepping, things like that. Monthly might be changing up your exercising, adding more to what you're doing at your exercise. In module 5, there's a plan, but each time you come around to that muscle group, you're going to want to add something. So you're either going to add more repetitions per set or more sets or heavier weights or another third or fourth or fifth exercise. So that's something that you might want to increase at least on a monthly basis. So there's a lot of things that we can do daily, weekly, and monthly. But if you don't have any of those things planned, the likelihood of you doing them is pretty slim to none. Enroll in an expert. Listen to some podcasts. Obviously, you guys are here. You've joined this program. You've been listening to Dr. Infantino. You're signing up or you're joining these group calls. And that's how you're going to get the information. It's not just, about me. It's obviously there's plenty of health and wellness experts and gurus out there, weight loss specialists or gut and health liver specialists, whatever you're here for, or all of the above. Listen to those kinds of podcasts, read those kinds of books. Success leaves clues. And these experts can share with you their success, and they can also share with you what didn't work so that you can shorten your journey. You don't have to be like me and take 7 years to lose 30 pounds or 35 pounds. I think I lost. It took me 7 years, but it took me, 6 years and 9 months really to understand what my system was. And then once I figured it all out and figured out I had to eat to lose weight and not starve myself to lose weight, then I was able to lose the weight. That's when the 35 pounds came off. But following, reading, learning, listening to some of your favorite gurus, really good idea. All right, so perspective, shifting your perspective. Basically, we've got to be open to new ideas, being open to things being a little bit different. We grew up and breakfast was always things like cereal or Pop-Tarts or pancakes or Eggos, waffle things, or a bagel or a muffin or pancakes, those kinds of things. That's what we had for breakfast. And that was my normal. That was our normal. That's how we were raised. But when we get to Veggie Day, you're going to be going, well, wait a minute, what do I have for breakfast? Well, vegetables. You can have a protein shake on Veggie Days too. But being open to the idea that things are going to be a little bit different will serve you, because otherwise, if it feels too awkward and too weird, you might be likely to not do it. So if you're more open to seeing it in a different way and changing your perspective. I had one of my clients, she was on one of the calls this week, and she sent me an email. She said, I'm sorry I had to leave the call early, which, by the way, if you guys have to leave early ever, that's perfectly fine. I do not think of it as rude. I'm just glad you were able to get 10 minutes in or 20 minutes in. If that's all the time you have, by all means, that's fine. Do it. If you have to go, you have to go. At least you got some time in. But she said there was a book that she was reading. What did she say? She said there something about ask yourself. No, that's not it. She said, oh, I know. She goes, oh, I remember what it was. It was a Bible, a verse in the Bible, First Corinthians chapter 10, verse 23. She said, everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. So she says now her perspective is shifted. Like when she goes to make a decision on a food, she'll ask herself, is it beneficial? Is this beneficial to me? And if the answer is no, then you might likely opt out. And another exercise that you can practice is when you're going to make a food choice, you can ask yourself, or I know what it was, the 10-10-10 rule. Ask yourself, how am I going to feel about this in 10 minutes? How am I going to feel about this in 10 days? And how am I going to feel about this decision in 10 months? So if you think about it that way, like in 10 minutes, oh, I'm going to have some regret. In 10 days, I'm going to be really mad that I blew it because I'm really on a good momentum and good roll here, or, something like that. So practicing the 10-10-10 approach, how you'll feel about your decision in either 10 minutes, 10 days, 10 months, whatever the date, or 10 years, whatever that is. So shifting your perspective. Very important, being open to being coachable. And Dr. Wayne Dyer says, change the way you look at things, and the things that you look at change. Looking through a different set of glasses, looking at another perspective, another opinion, another idea, and just being open. All right, so the power of faith. A mind dominated by positive emotions becomes a favorable abode for the state of mind as faith. And remember, when we practice our success formula, when we practice the auto-suggestion, when we practice the visualization, and we do that over and over and over again with feeling, with the component of adding the feeling, this is how we create faith. Faith is induced by the auto-suggestion. Faith gives, let me see what I write here. Faith gives power and action to the impulse of thought. Faith is the starting point of the accumulation of riches. Faith is the basis of all miracles, and faith is the only known antidote for failure. Faith is tested many times before we actually succeed. So, we're not going to, success goes in a funky direction, and it's not a straight line. So believing that you can, but the best way to get to the belief is practicing your auto-suggestion with emotion, getting really clear, making clear on your decision of what it is that you want, see it in your mind's eye, adding that feeling. A mind dominated with positive emotions becomes a favorable abode for the state of mind known as faith, which I already said. And faith is induced by auto-suggestion. All right. The power of persistence. This one is probably, well, they're all important. They're just all important. But just like the child who's a toddler, who's learning to walk, they fall how many times? We don't ever discourage them and tell them to stop trying. We want to insist that they continue to try. We know someday they will be able to walk without falling on their butts, going from A to B, and eventually that won't even be a thought. So I have the next slide here. There's the emotional cycle of change. And I've talked about this before in the past, but the first step, the first stage is you're excited, you signed up for this program, you are filled with uninformed optimism. you don't really know what's involved. You don't really know what the supplements really are or what's in them, or not much detail probably about what the program is involving and what you're supposed to really eat. You're just excited, and you have this uninformed and optimism. And then as we get started and we're going along and we're just trying to figure out what's allowed on the program and the foods and the meal prep is, oh, this is not as what I thought. And you're trying to figure out your calories, and you're trying to figure out, what's allowed on the program and what you're allowed to eat. We get into the space number 2, a little bit of informed pessimism. You now kind of have an idea what you're supposed to be, but it's really not exactly what you thought it was going to be. But you keep on going, and you get to this bottom space here, and they call that the Valley of Despair. And unfortunately, not everybody gets out of the Valley of Despair. And so this is oftentimes where people quit. The problem with that is, first of all, we were here at stage 1, just a few short weeks ago. What happened? We were excited. We wanted this thing so bad. We smacked down $4,000. We put up a lot of money. We put a lot of time, put a lot of energy into it. But we're really discouraged because something isn't going the way we thought it was going to go. So we quit. And then again, with the problem with quitting is we still, a couple of days or a week later or a month later, period of time later, you realize, man, I really want that thing. I really, really want that thing. I really want to get healthier. I don't want to live with all this fatigue and, poor sleep and poor digestive health, or whatever the case is. So we see another ad for another, doctor, gut doctor or weight loss doctor, or whatever the case is. We sign up for another thing, and the cycle starts over. We have the uninformed optimism. We get, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Informed pessimism, and we go in that cycle. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If we stay persistent, if we just don't give up, I don't care how hard it is. I don't care how discouraged you are. Don't matter. What is your next right meal? And just baby steps and baby steps, and this is where your planning comes into place. Just putting one foot in front of the other, and then set an appointment with me if you're feeling discouraged. If you're down here, set an appointment with me, and I'll take you to stage 4, which is informed optimism, because I will remind you how far you've come. I'll say, well, when you started, you weighed this much. When you started, you couldn't sleep. When you started, you had distension in your abdomen. When you started, you had no energy, whatever the case is. I will remind you of how far you've come, and you will start to realize, hey, this thing does work. It is work. It's not going exactly how I thought, but it is actually working. Okay. And then again, you just keep going one step in front of the other. And finally, you will have some success fulfilled. And that is the cycle of change. And that is why it is really important not to give up. When you're the most discouraged, that's when you got to keep going. And if you need help, that's what I'm here for. Use those coaching sessions for that. All right, so to recap here, you want to make a decision. You want to have a lot of clarity. Decide exactly what it is you want. Be very clear. It has to be very specific. The brain loves clarity, because if I say I want to make some more money, I'm going to find a penny on the sidewalk. The universe will have answered me. If I say I want to lose some weight, I sweat. I lost some water weight. So we really want to get very specific with what it is that we want. We want to be careful about our thoughts. Where are we putting our thoughts? Where are we putting our energy? Focusing our thought energy on the stuff that's going to serve us. If you stay out of the Pinterest of those creamy and cheesy and pasta recipes, and keep your thoughts on the recipes that will serve you. Keep your thoughts on how do I start an exercise plan. Keep your thoughts on how do I meal prep. All of that stuff's in the course. So keeping your thoughts in those right directions on the stuff that will serve you will activate the beginnings of changing your subconscious programs. The auto suggestion, this is basically self-hypnosis. If you're repeating your affirmations and I am making better food choices, I am starting my exercise, I am enjoying the foods that I'm trying, I am becoming a healthier person, all of these auto suggestions, repeat, 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 of course, with the emotion component. Get help in setting up a plan of how to do your meal planning, of how to do your exercise, of how to do's. All the how to's, set up a plan, use me for that as well. Shifting your perspective and being open to being coachable and understanding things are different. Which will, and then auto suggestion will induce your faith, obviously. And then staying persistent, do not give up. So with that, I will open it up to Q&A. And just so you know, on the this bottom one down here, drinfantino.club, that is the group, the private group. We will be phasing out the Facebook group, but just want you to know it's so much easier to find the videos in our private group than it is on Facebook. Facebook seems to move them all around. So who has some questions or thoughts or shares about anything I've talked about today?
I would like to get your thoughts on something, Tammy.
Yes.
So I have studied what you just trained on for many, many years, and I love it. And when I teach my kids, I also want to teach them, reality. So I liked that last little slide where you kind of showed the valley of despair. Here's my question. So when we're working to hit a goal, and you know what, it's just not going to happen. And we've done all this visualization and done all these affirmations. In my mind, the only thing that we can do is, let's just say we have a commitment to somebody and we're not going to hit the goal. The only thing we can do is make that call to them to say, hey, I thought I was going to be able to hit this goal, but I'm not going to be able to hit it. That feels like such a failure in that moment. Do you have any other thoughts on how something like that can be handled? Because sometimes we don't hit goals and we have to call and we're disappointed and the other person is disappointed.
Yes, yes. Where do I want to start with that? So you said it feels like a failure, and the feeling component is a huge thing for us. So if when a failure, so I'll just put it on me. So if I can't make the goal, I can't make the appointment with this person, I feel like a failure because I committed. I said I'd meet him for lunch and now I can't go because whatever reason, or whatever we're talking about. And I feel like a failure. The feeling of failure is a lower frequency and a lower vibration. And I did talk at length about that on Monday night.
Yep.
And about how all these feelings have a frequency and a vibration. So we've got to do some things that raise our vibration. So yes, we want to take responsibility. Yes, I promised I would be at this meeting, but I can't make it. But if you set it up where, well, first of all, you can set it up where you will make it. So, but I can make it Friday, or I can try to do this for you, or whatever. Depends on what we're talking about. So, well, what can you do? It's like, okay, but I can't make it today, but I can make it on Saturday. So what can I do? And then also asking myself a different question, like, why did you do that? Or why didn't you do that? Why didn't you hit your goal? That is placing more shame and more blame to me. And shame and blame are some of the lowest vibrational emotions that we have. So the only way out of that is think, okay, well, what did I do right? Okay, maybe I didn't lose any weight this week, but man, all my breakfasts this week were on point. I went off at lunch on Thursday because we went to this restaurant and whatever. But I did all my good lunches. I went 3 workouts this week. I turned in my logs. I met with my coach. Like, you remind yourself what you did right. And that's a way to prove to yourself that everything you did is not a failure. You just didn't hit a certain goal in this particular moment.
Moment,
And
right?
if your system consistently isn't working, we have to find just, okay, well, let me find another system. So if you're like not, your calorie counts isn't right, or you're consistently low, and I say, hey, let's raise your calories, or let's carb cycle, let's calorie cycle, whatever I suggest that we do, we're going to do something a little bit different. And then just practicing learning how to do these carb or calorie cycles, doing something different so that we can start to see some changes. And if that doesn't work, we'll try something else. But not, I mean, we want to take responsibility. Okay, I went off on Thursday because I went to lunch with the girls and we had a cheesecake or something. But you got to give yourself what you did right.
Yeah.
And write it down at the end of the day in your gratitude journal, because that's how we can change the identity. Because if I feel like a failure all the time, it's going to start to become who I am. Well, I always fail at everything, or I always fail at weight loss, or I always fail at, whatever it is, whatever it is. So that would be my answer to that. Did that answer your
Yeah, no,
question?
I appreciate your thoughts because, I don't like to get caught up in the rah rah of the personal development world, without the reality of there are disappointing things that happen in life. And you know what? You do fail, and that is a part of your pathway to success. And but when you are in that failing moment or time, it does feel bad. Yes, we want to focus on the efforts that we made for sure. But, there is disappointment in the world. And I also believe in miracles. So I'm always just trying to balance that so I don't raise my children to be uh like
So discouraged when we have disappointments.
no, I'm okay if they're discouraged when we have disappointments. In fact, I want them to sit in their discouragement so that they can feel those feelings rather than try to facade with the rah rah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I would say going in and say, well, what could I have done better? What can I do?
Absolutely.
What can I do
Yeah.
next time? So that you're
Yep.
basically rehearsing, because the situation's going to come up. I'm going to go to lunch with my friends every Thursday. I don't want to have a cheesecake every, that's just
Yeah.
example. But
Certainly want to
so
take
what can I do
accountability.
different? Well, I think maybe they had a sugar free, or maybe they had a something else, or I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. No, I
Figure
appreciate the
something else
thought.
out.
I just like to hear people's thoughts on that. I appreciate the thought. And so thank you.
Does anybody else have anything they would add to that?
Well, I look at it every day, every night before I go to bed. I kind of review my day, and if something has not gone well, I try to analyze what happened in that situation, and I say, where's the opportunity for growth here?
Ooh,
How
I
can
love that. That was good.
Yeah, how can I handle that in the future differently so that I don't offend somebody? The other day I offended somebody greatly and I didn't mean to. Honestly didn't mean to. So, at night I was looking at what's the opportunity for growth here? How could I have done that differently? And I'm grateful for so many things in my life, but I do at the end of the day my I'm proud of moments. I'm really proud that I took all my supplements today. I'm really proud that I am bound and determined to stay on this cleanse, even though I'm experiencing some difficulties, you know? And I just, I guess it's like being a cheerleader, rah, rah, but it's also acknowledging what I think I've handled well, how I've persevered. But the other thing is really analyzing and being honest with how I could have handled something differently to have a better outcome for my peace of mind. you know?
I think that's so perfect. And just having that end of the day. So if you write down, and where was I reading? I had a book, someone gave me a book for Christmas. And at the end of the day, you would write down like either 3 or 5 things that you were grateful for. And then, what's something I could have done different, or
Hmm.
what didn't go right, and how could I have done that different, or how could I have handled it different? But it's so perfect in that it can help. What you're doing is practicing the future now. So you're acknowledging that you did all these right things. Okay, I took my supplements, I'm staying the course,
Yeah.
I'm making my meal prep, I'm eating the right choice foods. So you're marking down on paper who you are becoming. So it's a way to switch out your identity, because this whole process is about who you are becoming. We're just becoming a better version of ourselves internally and
Yeah.
thoughtfully and intentionally, hopefully. So
Yeah.
that's just a good way to practice. Okay, what can I do next time that happens? Or what's a
Yeah.
better option next
It
time that
also,
happens?
yeah, it also helps you to release it so that you can
Yeah,
say,
and let
okay,
it go.
I've got a game plan. I can go rest. I've given this off to the, I'm okay with how I've analyzed this. I'm going to go rest now. So, yeah.
Shauna says, Jane, I think you are almost finished with the detox cleanse. Woohoo!
Yeah. Yeah. How are you doing on it, Shauna?
I felt bad last night. I was shocked. I was going to take my kids to the garden and I just said, I can't go. I was sneezing and everything. But then I
Yeah.
woke up this morning and I feel really good.
Is today your day 3?
Day 2.
Day 2. Day 2, I woke up. I think wrote it on my journal. I don't know if Tammy's seen that journal yet. Probably not. I woke up, I had so much energy. I went and I tackled my hall closet and it's bare, let me tell you.
Good for you.
But I got it all done, right? And
Oh,
then,
good. You did the declutter thing we talked
yeah.
about.
But then I was like a wet noodle around 4 o'clock. I was like done. I was toast. So
Yeah.
Shauna, day 3, I felt better. So
Well, I appreciate it. It's good that you're here kind of a day ahead of me. So thank you.
yeah, yeah, I was day 4 and I will tell you I'm adjusting not taking all the fiber because it was causing me some issues. So
Hmm.
constipation. So other than that, not to be indelicate on the call, sorry for anybody that offends, but it's a real deal. And I was scared. I mean, I actually wondered if I needed to go into the urgent care. I was feeling such stomach pains.
Oh,
And
man.
yeah, it was like, but you know, and Tammy said, well, if you need to do, she gave me so many options, which I really thank you for, Tammy.
Oh, you're welcome.
But I also decided at that point, no, I've made it through 3 days. This is day 4. I'm going to finish day 4 and day 5. And I'm going to love my veggie days because I hated the first 2 ones, but I'm going to love them now. I'm so excited for them. And,
Yep, yep. Looking forward to a stick of celery, right?
yes, I'm really looking. I've spent hours in my cookbooks and I've come up with recipes I'm gonna make, and I'm gonna make baba ganoush for vegetable dip and yum,
Yum.
just make it good and be positive. Even though I'm not a veggie girl, I'm gonna love the heck out of those veggies.
And
Yeah.
I love that you're planning the recipes like we talked about, planning in advance. If you're setting yourself up with that kind of organization, it's going to be so much easier for you.
Yeah, and I've got my grocery list. Tomorrow I go to the grocery store, last day of cleanse. It's really hard for me to be around food. Last night I was out again and they had homemade sourdough bread on the table for everybody as a snack. We were playing mahjong and oh my gosh, the snacks were endless and I didn't touch a thing. So,
Wow.
and the bowls were right next to me because usually I'm a snacker. So anyway,
That's amazing.
yeah. So
That
it's
is
just
amazing.
I'm just feeling really, really empowered, much more so in this. And I've done other programs, ladies, and this one I felt more empowered earlier on than in the other programs before. So I think you made the right choice, Shauna. I remember our
Yeah,
first call together, and you talked about your why, and I think it's going to be great for you.
yeah, I've done other programs too, but I really like this one as well.
Yeah.
I also feel some empowerment and I feel some early on success. So I'm grateful for it.
Good. Well, it'll be interesting to see how we all proceed down
Yep.
the road, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I'm glad you guys are really learning to get into it, going all in and learning to enjoy it and getting the most out of it. So,
Yeah. Thanks, Tammy. I appreciate your coaching and all that.
oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Wonderful stuff.
Anybody else? All right. Well, I really do appreciate you guys joining and great shares today. Great, great, great shares today. Love that. So thank you for joining me today. And hopefully I will see you guys all very soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.